Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for clicking on this Rank the Movies video. Well, it is October. We're through the 100th episode. That was last week. Now it's time to talk about October-y things with a good series of Halloween classics, some scary movies I love that I talked about last year, but it was in such a big video of 20 other movies that it kind of just, they got lost. They got lost because they were my favorites. I talked about them last, and I didn't have the ambition to actually give the real amount of time it deserved to talk about some of these movies. This week, I'm starting with The Frighteners. Yes, I have it on both Blu-ray and a VHS copy of it. I love this movie. This is a Peter Jackson movie. This is probably my favorite Peter Jackson movie. I know I talked about The Lord of the Rings a couple of weeks ago. Probably by channel terms. I talked about Lord of the Rings a couple of weeks ago. But this is my favorite Peter Jackson movie. It stars Michael J. Fox. You also have the beautiful Jeffrey Combs. He's a great actor. Jeffrey Combs. You got Jake Busey, Chi McBride, D. Wallace Stone, John Astin, are all in this film. And it's such a great film. You have Michael J. Fox. He plays a paranormal investigator who, after getting into a car accident with his wife where she unfortunately died, began to be able to see ghosts. He now uses that to make money by tricking people to think that they have ghosts in their house. The ghosts are played by Chi McBride and John Astin. There is another actor who plays these ghosts, and these are the ones he's hired to help him, scare people really into using his services. He finds out that there is a murderer coming around because when his wife died, she was found with a number carved onto her forehead, the number 14. It's found out that a serial killer from years past at an insane asylum has been resurrected through his ashes and is trying to increase his kill count. That killer is played by Jake Busey. And you find out that that's what's happening. He's increasing his numbers by murdering more people. It is a great movie because they don't really show it's Jake Busey right away. They show it's like looks like he's a flowy Grim Reaper because he's in a rug. And it's Michael J. Fox trying to stop Jake Busey from claiming more people, killing more people, and it's just a great time. I love The Frighteners. It's such a well-done movie. You get a Danny Elfman score, which, who's going to argue with a Danny Elfman score? I mean, Danny Elfman, score anything you want, Danny. It is always going to be a good time. But yeah, it's a really good movie. It's not like the scariest or goriest thing that is out there, that even Peter Jackson has made himself, but it's a really good time. This was supposed to be a Tales from the Crypt movie at one point in its production, but they thought the script was too good, so they decided to give it its own, just be a standalone, not Tales from the Crypt entity, which is cool, but it's kind of sad at the same time, because there is, a trilogy of films out there that are Tales from the Crypt movies without being Tales from the Crypt movies. I think I talked about it in my Tales from the Crypt trilogy review about The Frighteners, Death Becomes Her, and From Dusk Till Dawn. All supposed to be movies with Tales from the Crypt. None of them ended up being Tales from the Crypt movies because of their strength of their own abilities. But yeah, I love The Frighteners. Definitely check it out if you've never seen it before. Jeffrey Combs, I did not touch on Jeffrey Combs. He is so good in this movie. You probably only know Jeffrey Combs if you know about The Reanimator or Bride of Reanimator. You might know his voice work for Batman, Justice League, and a bunch of other stuff, way more than you know about the man himself. But Jeffrey Combs is in this movie playing an FBI investigator who's investigating the murders, who's been put undercover in every cult in America's history for the time that he's been alive. And he's got the scars, and he's a very paranoid man with hemorrhoids. It's a pretty amusing time. Jeffrey Combs is amazing in this movie. He is definitely worth checking out just for Jeffrey Combs' performance. It is spot on. Like, Michael J. Fox is the star, but Jeffrey Combs is the guy who steals this movie. But The Frighteners, it's a great film. Now, for these Halloween reviews, I've decided to also talk about a classic Halloween special that I love that's near and dear to my heart this week. Although this is part of my set for the next 3 weeks, I am actually going to talk about the Peanuts Halloween special. It's The Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. I'd switch out one of these for my actual case of it, but it's only in a 3-pack with 2 of the other Charlie Brown specials, Christmas and Thanksgiving. But I love the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. I've actually dressed up as it twice now for Halloween's in the past. I partake in a trunk or treat every year. In the first and third year, I have done the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. The first year I was the Great Pumpkin in the Most Sincere Pumpkin Patch, and then I was Charlie Brown with his rock, and the trunk was my rock. To me, it is a classic special that if you've never checked it out in all the time that it's been around, all the years of Charlie Brown Halloween, I feel sorry for you. It's one worth checking out if you've never seen it before. I decided to start with the most known of the three I'm going to be doing, and that is Charlie Brown. It's the Great Pumpkin. You get the World War I Flying A stuff, you get Linus in the Pumpkin Patch, and of course you get the kids trick-or-treating, and I've got a rock. It's a great time. If you've never checked out the Peanuts Halloween special, check it out. Check out the Frighteners, and I will see you next week with another Halloween pick. See you then.